podcast is brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. Pella of Omaha and Lincoln wants every homeowner to have the best quality windows and doors, and they're willing to bet $100 on it. Call the Omaha or Lincoln showroom or go to PellaOmaha.com to find out how you can get $100 and new windows and doors starting at $122 a month. And the Nick Bahe podcast is brought to you by Brickway, Cut Spike, Lucky Bucket family. Great brewery, great distillery. We got our whiskey displayed here. Some people said it looked like rosé. No, this thing's whiskey. It's whiskey, okay? It's don't doubt. Don't you dare doubt what's in the bottle, okay?
I would never.
I would know you would not.
Never.
I would know you would not. Great beers, great whiskeys, and more. They're located in the Omaha La Vista area, 4 blocks south of 120th and Giles. And we're brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems, the Solaire authorized distributor for Nebraska and Iowa. Solaire is the leading American manufacturer of air compressors. For any air compressor needs, go to peerlessenergy.com. Okay, we're here. Ruud, Nick Bahe, mid-week pod. The Colorado game, the confetti has fallen. They're sweeping it up, and they're getting ready for Northern Iowa. Are you still on a high from that? Where are you at with?
I think, let's see here. It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. We're recording this on Tuesday.
The high is still lingering.
Yep.
Feeling good still.
Yep.
But it is, I think it's nice to, okay, now let's go play somebody else. Let's go see what we are. We've had our moment. The moment feels good. We've basked in it. I think it's time to turn the page.
I wasn't planning on bringing up Colorado, but I guess I did. But there was, because I wanted to get to this after we talk about who's in the club, because we're gonna figure out who's in the club here in a second. I don't want to maybe react to what is maybe the vocal minority, but I have gotten this sense when I've maybe listened to other radio shows, other podcasts, that there were a certain section of the fan base or section of people that are a little more concerned or disappointed in the second half of the Colorado game. Did we gloss over that too much? Like maybe I and you were maybe too hyper-focused on, like, I think for me, I was very hyper-focused on how good the first half was and the fact that Nebraska was up 28-0, and then just finally winning a big game on a big stage that, like, I don't know. Like, I wasn't going to let...
Nick, we definitely glossed over the second half, but I think that was the right thing to do. Like, if you don't enjoy that game, like, you get it once every 10 or 20 years at this point. Like, right. I felt like it was our duty to just be like, congratulations, Nebraska Cornhuskers. You won a game. You did what we've been dying for you to do. Sure, there was problems, but it didn't feel like the time to nitpick those problems on the second half, because it was spectacular first half.
But here's the thing, though. It wasn't just... I guess here's maybe the actual question. Did we gloss over it because we felt like what you just said, like, big win, like, whatever, let's focus on the good parts of that game and all that? Or was it that we were actually not concerned about some of the things that happened? Because I actually think it's more that I'm like, I wasn't that... I don't know, like the offense wasn't just horrible.
They weren't good. I mean, and the special teams wasn't great for a good chunk of the game, but
maybe that phrase that right? Like, where it's like,
I think it's still worth, noticing that. Like, it was a bad closeout in a sense, right? But we still won by 18 points, and it wasn't a piss down the leg either, right? It wasn't one of those moments.
No.
It just was like, it was sloppy. A lot of penalties. Like, and the penalties going our way or not might have changed, like, a couple long plays.
Yes.
Some more points on the board would have, I think, changed some of people's perceptions. But, it was a little sloppy.
Yeah, I think because it was interesting that when I heard Ravi put it this way on Hurrdat Sports Radio, and when he said it, I was like, oh my God, like, the way he framed it, he was like, can we talk about how Nebraska won a game in which they got shut out in the second half? They got a punt blocked. They had 12 penalties. They missed a 32-yard field goal, and they were pretty bad on. I should pull up their final third down numbers, but their final third down numbers weren't necessarily great. Like, in any other, if someone before the game would have said, "Hey, Nebraska's going to get shut out in the second half. They're going to have 12 penalties. They're going to get a punt blocked," you'd have been like, "Oh my God, did Nebraska not just lose, but did they get embarrassed?" But no, it's just it's hard to kind of. They're 3 of 12 on third down.
Yeah. Sure.
I don't.
Here's the thing. It's big progress in the sense of the overall accomplishment in the minutia of third downs and, like the second half. Like if you're breaking, start breaking. Yeah, there's probably a lot you could look at. I do think a lot of the penalties were like penalties of aggression. Like we were holding, we were late hits, there was a lot of those.
It wasn't a lot of like false starts, like just
it was less
brain
of that.
dead things.
And so, it wasn't good, and we can clean it up in the sense, but I think if your big takeaway from that game was
it's like, what was wrong with the second half?
You are a more level-headed person than I am, because I've been waiting for that win for so long.
Yeah.
That the win so overshadows. Okay, so like we made the progress. Next week, I think you can start back into that.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, where are we as a team that's winning a couple games now? I think your expectations go up. Like we jumped a level to me on now my expectations can be a little higher, right?
I also think, and I think you understand this. I think one of the sneaky hard things to do in sports is in a game with a lot of emotion, you just piss pound somebody.
Yeah.
And then halftime hits, and to like replicate that same, it's hard. It keeping the foot on the gas after halftime and having that same focus, all that stuff. That's harder than people think.
Yeah.
I know I've felt it. The game that I remember the most was my senior year at Creighton. Nebraska was playing in Omaha at the Quest Center at the time, and we were foaming at the mouth. Crowd was juiced, and we'd hammer them. We got up 38-10 maybe, and it was halftime was 47-20.
Yeah,
and it's just hard to come back out in the second half and have that same oomph to you. And so I think there's a little bit of that too.
It was a lot. I mean, I told you, like, I felt like it was an adrenaline dump. I came in after half as a fan. I was like, whew, like I was like spent. Like I can only imagine as players, it was such a hype. It's like hard to adjust to that. But this is something like in the end, they still held on.
Yeah. And the defense still was very good. I thought
was still good. Yeah. It still was solid. Yeah. The offense, just execution for the offense was just,
okay.
So
because it's
to me, it's like, but don't lose this in those details. Like it's about that moment, the win, the rivalry. It all culminated in that moment to get like Nebraska, like a special thing, like to overcome some sort of like some sort of like ceiling we couldn't bounce through. That like we finally did. So,
yeah.
That was my focus. I think that's the right thing to focus.
I couldn't agree more. Okay, you ready to be the bouncers with the club?
Oh, Nick.
So
this started because of why? Why did we have to
I don't even know. I mean, I think you and I like to create little bits or little stupid shticks of like, instead of just being like, all right, who are the 5 most important players? We create this thing like it's, for some reason I've always thought, I don't know, I've always thought we're at like the rail.
The rail, that's what I pictured, yeah.
I've always thought we're at the brass rail, and we are the bouncers, and basically it is the Nebraska football team wants to get in this club, okay? And we have to figure out, you want a very exclusive people in this club. We have done this numerous times now. Do you remember, we did a Who's in the Club post-spring?
I wrote them down.
Who were, because I couldn't find it. Who did you have? Okay. Who was in the club? So because I'm curious how much this changes. So this post-spring, here we go. Give it to me.
This is who was in the club.
Post-spring.
Post-spring, okay? So in the club.
Did we do that stupid thing like everybody but Dylan, or did we include Dylan Raiola?
We had Dylan.
Okay, so we got to have Dylan.
Ty, Dylan, Gifford, Polar Bear, Benhart. We only were allowing 5 at the time. First in was HOF, Fedoni, and Hartzog.
So, wow.
Yeah, so Hartzog was second in. So the other fun part about why we wanted to do this, because Nick also last week gave out a lot of game balls. For those who tuned into our last pod, he gave out 6 or 7, and he wasn't done, and I had to step in. I had to step in.
I was going to keep on handing them out, and you had to stop me. Thank God.
I've been laughing about this for 3 or 4 days.
So bad.
You
I know.
gave out 7 game balls before you had to be stopped.
Why? What is it? Yes,
Nick,
what is it about? I really was like, no, this is normal.
This is normal. You were like, what do you mean? You kind of caught you off guard. Like, what do you mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm halfway through my list here. It's ridiculous.
So the good thing about the club is we can let as many people in the club as we want to. We want to keep it exclusive. That keeps the club cool.
All we're hoping for, I mean, we might be against the fire code. We don't need the fire marshal to come in and break this thing up and say, wait, we got too many people in here. We understand there's a capacity thing here.
Yeah. But we want to keep it exclusive. Hey, the club, we want to make it.
That's the only thing.
Other people to want.
That's what I was doing wrong with the game balls. Getting a game ball. Look, I mean, you brought yours here. I mean, your Colorado game ball. It's like your favorite game you played in. Yeah. You got the game ball. It means a lot to you, and we got to make sure the club feel like it's exclusive. Okay, so interesting. Dylan Raiola, Ty Robinson, Polar Bear, Gifford, Ben Hart, with Fedoni and Hartzog as the first 2 ready to enter into the club.
We let Dylan in underage in the spring. So we're gonna let that ride.
So the way I like to think about this, because this isn't necessarily who are the 5 best players on the team.
No,
this is the way I was framing it in my head when I was writing this down today. Is like, who are the 5 guys that if those guys got taken away from the team, who are the 5 guys that would be the biggest, like,
yeah, it's like that bouncer can't say no to these. You cannot say no to these
fill
guys.
In the blank.
And so I think we got more than 5. I think in the spring,
so too.
We had 5. And I think we got more than 5.
Okay, I'll tell you this.
I'm okay going more than 5. I don't know. Do we want to start with 5 and then see who we've got to add?
Yes.
I think if we can't say no, we can't say no.
So here. I wrote down a bunch of names, but I just want to quick kind of say this. There are only, of our post-spring game 5, I only have, of my new list, only 2 of those 5 are still on the 5 in the club.
Okay. This is interesting.
So, okay, let's start with the obvious one. Mr. Underage himself. He got a fake ID. Chad Oaks. Shouts out to our old fake ID that was undefeated. One of the greatest things ever. Dylan Raiola is in the club.
Dylan, step right this way.
Dylan, come on in. Right in the back.
We got your
Kelly Kapowski will take you to your couch and get you some Gatorade.
Yeah, I got some Gatorade.
We'll get you some nice lemon lime Gatorade, my friend. Mm-hmm. Ty Robinson.
I think Ty right to the back with Dylan. No questions asked.
You don't even. We just dapped him up. He didn't even have to. There was no like. It was. He's been there, done that. Been in the club.
You can always tell who's for sure in. Right. They don't even have to ask.
No,
they're just walking.
They're not getting out their ID. They're not. It's like
right this way.
Right this way, Mr.
Right to the back.
Jason Peter Jr. Dylan Raiola, Ty Robinson in. Okay, this is where. Maybe I am overdoing.
We can only go off of the two game performances. So that's the hard part.
See, that's what's hard. Is like, but there does need to be a little combination of like. It's not like everything that happened last year is. We're not starting from a complete blank slate either.
No. That's why I would go more than 5 because there's a couple guys that. They're doing what they do, and they are the leaders. And I feel like they.
Well, okay. Let's start with the guys that were in there in the spring. Okay, so let's start there and decide if we want to let them or are they back in. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next name, Polar Bear. This is where Ty hurts him.
I think you let Polar Bear in. I think he had a great off season. You know, he had the wrestling thing. He comes out. He had a big time sack from his nose position against Colorado. Like, to me, Polar Bear, he's with that sack, stays in the club.
I can already tell if you are letting Polar Bear in this quickly and easily, we're gonna have a major fire code issue with our club.
I'm okay, but see, here's the great thing about the club is when you get crowded, and then let's say a loss happens, the next week we have to cut back on the club.
So you might be kicking people out the club next week.
We kick people out of the club.
You go muck around with Northern Iowa.
If it gets real bad, I call Patrick Swayze and Roadhouse.
And start clearing out that club.
And we start clearing out that club.
So Polar Bear's in.
Polar Bear to me is in. Is he not in?
He was not in mine because I got see. This is where like the depth of the D line makes it hard. Because
it's tough.
It's hard. Like Ty Robinson being in made me. And I love Polar Bear. I'm with you. Like I love the wrestling thing and all that stuff. I mean, I think he's awesome. And there's there's no substitute for just a big old mother trucker right in the middle of your D line.
He feels like one of the pillars of that defense to me. That's why I feel like there's still like.
Well, excuse me, Polar Bear. Hey, Nash, real quick. Kelly Kapowski. I don't know why Kelly Kapowski works at this. Welcome to club late 80s, early 90s. Kelly, get Nash a slab of ribs. Don't you want them ribs? And just wait here for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Gifford.
I put Gifford in the same spot as Polar Bear, like one of the absolute leaders, like top 3 or 4 leaders on the team. Those guys, I think they've played well. They just haven't made the splash plays yet.
Right. I don't want to punish Gifford.
So I don't want to push. Those guys, I think, stay in the club until further notice. What do you think about that?
I like it.
Like we're bouncers trying to make
No, I know. It's hard. It's hard because under no circumstance, this is where your reputation precedes you.
Yes.
Gifford, we were talking about how Gifford was maybe the best player on the defense.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about he's not going to be in the club?
He's got to be in the club.
Okay. Gifford's in the club. Gifford was a guy I put on the side with Kapowski for a second when I was initially doing this.
Right. You might have to. But I think those two are in. I think they're in, and we got a week.
You're at
difference.
4.
No.
Well, how many people are you gonna let in the club, dog? Okay, wait. Are the roles gonna be reversed? I handed out a million game balls, and you're gonna let 800
you're
people.
not gonna like a couple of the guys that
got left out the club.
You might not like it.
Ben Hart. I didn't put Ben Hart down.
I'm Ben Hart. I'm gonna leave out just because.
Not that. No disrespect, Bryce.
I think he's in the very close to being back in, but we're going to have a capacity.
We're sending Ben Hart to the Gourmet Grill. Just down the street.
Yeah, get a bite.
Go get a bite, and we'll
see where things are next week.
It's really not that cracking in there. Just go get some chicken strips. Go get a gyro.
He needs to eat.
Get a gyro. Go home. So Ben Hart, not in the club.
No. We don't heave, but we just politely say, we own another restaurant. We're going to comp your meal, but it's packed in there.
So we're calling the Gourmet Grill and saying, hi, Bryce, a guy named Bryce Ben Hart's coming down there. Just take care. Put the chicken strips on my tab. That's what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then the first two, Canton, Ohio, Fedoni.
I'm sorry to say this, but I would say Canton is not.
It hurt. You know how I feel about it.
I know. I think it's been a slow start to the year. I think he had a nice off season, but I don't think he is one of the Polar Bear,
Gifford, Ty,
Dylan leaders and like clear guys. I think we have to maybe.
Oh, I'm with you. I hate to do it. I still love him. Doesn't mean he can't come back to the club, but he's out the club now.
Okay, I got one. I got two guys that are coming up together. I want to put this to you right now.
Okay.
Nair and Banks walk up together. They walk up as a duo.
See, that's the problem. It's like the Polar Bear Ty duo. For me, in my mind, I was like, we're probably only going to be able to take one of you.
Oh, wow. You're going to tell him that?
I don't know how to tell him that. I'll probably have, I don't know if we want to have, because that might be a Mr. Belding job.
Yeah. He'll do the dirty work?
No.
So would you would?
I think I would take Nair.
I think Nair's had the better start.
I think Dylan wants, let's be honest, for Dylan to have a good time, I think Dylan wants Nair in there.
All right, how about this?
What are you doing?
I think we let Nair in and we tell Banks he's next in line.
Okay. I had Nair in the club.
I think that's fair. He had a better first game.
And I think he's Dylan.
Yes.
Dylan, I think Dylan likes him.
I think that's fair. They're so similar. Like they got the similar kind of build and game that it's hard for me to separate them yet. I want to see. I thought Banks was going to be the better player, but Nair had the better first game.
I agree.
So I think you're right. We want to keep this thing exclusive.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's go with Nair, and we keep Banks close. We say Banks, just hang here.
Are we sending Banks? So do you want to send him with Bryce to the Gourmet Grill?
I think we better. Let's send him to the Gourmet Grill.
Okay. There's another guy walking up. His name's Jamari Butler. Where were you on Jamari Butler?
He had a nice game.
He did. He might be the best pure, just rush the passer, the best. He's arguably the best.
The difference is I don't think he did it for as long as Ty and Polar Bear did the last 2 years. Those guys have played more snaps and have earned something more to me in terms of but he's clearly he's a first stringer ahead of Leinhart. He's ahead of
Prince Will, and Riley Van Poppel,
so he's very very close. There's no question with the way the defense is played, he's close. But to be in the club, you have to get to a certain level to us right now. And maybe we're letting Nair in a little soon.
But to me, sometimes
he's so needed right now.
He's so needed and important to that offense, and because it seems like Raiola likes him. I just think to zoom real quick, let's check out of the club thing and think of football. Go back to what I said a second ago.
Yeah.
You remove this guy from the team. You remove Nair, and for me, that I'm ugh, I don't like that.
I think it's a bigger blow. You lose Butler, and I think we do have a couple guys that can go in. You lose Nair, and
you're going
offense, a lot
less potent to get. So Butler, I don't think Butler's in, but that hurts a little bit.
Yeah, I think
okay.
I think we can send him the Gourmet Grill. I think he's earned that.
We're sending a lot of. We're racking up quite the tab.
But they've been Nick. They're 2-0. Let me tell you, they're not 2-0. Maybe they're going to Amigos or something. Or maybe they're going I don't know. We're sending them somewhere else. We like Amigos. So I mean, it's where would we send them? To the hot dog stand? That'd be insulting.
That's bad.
That's insulting.
When you have a hot dog on the corner, that's a rough night. Okay. I don't know what to do with this guy. Where are we at with Tommy Hill?
I mean, Tommy, the way I just wrote it down, I was going to let 6 into the club.
I think he's in the club, Bo.
I think he's in the club. That's the biggest play of the year.
Yes.
His play was the biggest play of the year. He had a couple nice tackles, which I always thought was I didn't know where Tommy was on the rest of his game.
Agree.
And it seems like he's putting it together right now.
And I don't want to overdo I don't want to overdo what other people think, but people are talking about this guy he's a second rounder with the arrow trending up kind of a player.
That play, Nick, that interception he made, that's a big time play.
Well, I don't think we talked about how hard of a catch that was.
That's why I think the people that see him the most like him the most. That's always a great sign, right?
True.
And his coaches they're always trying to get him on the field, offense or D. It's a special guy, right? We're always kind of scratching our head, what are we not seeing in Tommy? Whatever it was, he couldn't quite translate it.
Right. There was something with him, the way he started, that his first year just was, in our defense, he was not good early. He gets benched. He gets moved to the other side of the ball.
And then he was just all right. It didn't really fit. But he wasn't he struggled actually on defense.
Yes.
Georgia Southern was
it was bad.
You want to turn on that film that was bad film, right?
Yes.
But Tommy this year, it just seems like things are all trending in the right direction on all his facets of his game. He came up and stuck Shadur. Things like that. I'm like, Tommy, there we go. I think we need to trust kind of the people that see him the most. There's
agree.
A lot of potential there. That pick 6, the play of the year. That alone, play of the year, and you're known as probably our number 1 draft prospect. I think those couple things there those fall
Couldn't agree
into,
more.
you're going in.
You're in the club. By the way, Pro Football Focus, Tommy Hill graded out as the highest Big Ten defensive back in week 2.
There you go.
So I think it's crazy. I mean, you and I have just, so to me, Hartzog's not in the club.
Hartzog not at this point, no.
Tommy Hill's in the club.
Tommy's in.
Okay, so at this point, we are officially at 6 guys in the club.
Do we cap it? I mean,
Well, hold on. Let's hammer through a couple of other people.
I got 2 that I'm thinking about here.
Where are you at with Dowdell?
Not in the club yet.
Okay. Ramir.
Not in the club yet.
Singleton.
Not in the club yet.
Raiden
is a guy that Nick, as a bouncer, as a professional bouncer, I'm looking back to management like, what do you think? What do you think? I don't know. He's young. He hasn't been here very long. Like, he hasn't been around this.
He's underage like
He's
Dylan.
underage. Like, we're putting ourselves at risk here, but Raiden's electric.
I mean, Ja'Cory Barney. There just isn't. So again, to think about it from the standpoint of, like, what Ja'Cory Barney's going to do at the club, going to get the dance party
he's
started.
a good dancer. We know that already.
There's 100%. I don't like. You watch Ja'Cory Barney play football, and there's just 100% certainty that he is an elite dancer at the club.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So, but
Nick,
when you think about it from removing him from the football team, you're removing one of the most dangerous.
Did you say dangerous?
Dangerous. One of the most dangerous guys.
Yeah, so he's had some good runs. I would say him and Ramir are both guys, if those long plays of theirs don't get called back, I'm maybe putting them both in the club.
Well, because
Ramir, that if Ramir's run goes, that means he has 2 touchdowns last game that have been amazing. He'd be in the club. So Ramir and Raiden are both. I think
Michael Myers and Raiden.
We're sending him to the Gourmet Grill. Those guys are Gourmet Grill guys, okay?
Okay, so hold on. We're going Barney and Ramir. So I have a list. We now have a Gourmet Grill.
Okay, who's at the? I'm right there. Who's at the Gourmet Grill?
Fedoni,
Benhart,
Banks, Benhart, Barney, and Ramir are all at the Gourmet Grill eating chicken strips and gyros.
Ramir.
We should have sent them to the Gourmet Grill. I mean, come on, come on, it's fun.
It's we're working with the Gourmet Grill.
Yes, right. They're I mean, obviously, that's it. Anybody were like?
I said I had Bullock as a. I wasn't going to let him in, but I think he's a guy that's going to creep up on and make us think.
To me, Bayer, there are a couple. There's Bayer Bullock, Nair Banks, Ty Polar Bear. Not that those guys are all clearly Ty and Polar Bear are like.
That's what I mean.
But the combination of the two.
It hurts the other.
It hurts the other one.
But the sample size is not big enough on everybody. Bayer, he's had a good couple games, but Bullock has a better argument than him at this point because he played more football last year.
Agree.
And I think Bullock and Bayer, those guys, we need to see 3 or 4 more games before they start taking Polar Bear's spot, right?
Right.
They have to elevate, and somebody else has to kind of have a rough couple of games or something, right? So this is what's hard. A couple of wins, we're looking really nice. Everybody looks good, but the more film that gets out there, the more the club, I think, will become more obvious to us.
So do we think we got the club finalized?
I think I'm good with those 6. I think we're going a little over capacity. We haven't called
one's not crazy though. No. I was nervous when we were started here. We were going to end up with 9 people in the club.
No, we made some cuts. I mean, I didn't want to cut Banks. I didn't want to cut.
I don't either. Well, okay, so in the club, 2 games in, Ty Robinson, Dylan Raiola, Polar Bear, Isaac Gifford, Isaiah Nair, Tommy Hill. Tommy Hill, this might be his first time in the club. Welcome to the club, sir.
Welcome to the club.
At the Gourmet Grill.
Nair 2.
At the Gourmet Grill. Bryce Benhart, Thomas Fedoni.
It's Fedoni at Gourmet Grill.
Did you send him home? Well, I thought we sent Hartzog home.
We sent a hard sock home. Fedoni's still Fedoni. He's HOF. I mean, we got.
Let's send
him to the Gourmet Grill. He is HOF.
And we sent Hartzog home.
He's been a little quiet this year. I guess he had a pick.
He had a pick, but he gave up a TD. What's crazy is Hartzog went from I do too, but Hartzog going from the post-spring club to getting sent home.
Well, he was post-spring. He was second in.
That's true. Good point.
He wasn't
him and Canton, Ohio were.
Yeah.
So at the Gourmet Grill. Sorry, so we sent Hartzog home, but Fedoni. I mean, Butler got sent home too. So it's not. There's no shame in going home.
No, going home is not. The Gourmet Grill means you're real close.
Right.
So the Gourmet Grill is not. It's not an insult to anybody else if you don't get in there. But it's like you got to be so close that we have to send you the Gourmet Grill because we can't say no. We can't. Some people we say no to, but we can't say no.
But you know what we did for Hartzog and Butler? We got him an Uber.
We paid to send them.
Guys, we appreciate you coming out. Let me get you an Uber. Let's come back next Saturday. We'll see where we're at.
We'll just see where we're at. You guys, we want you here, just not tonight.
And Mr. Belding had to deliver that.
If we really like him, we can't say it to him. We have to send somebody else.
We'll say, hold on. Mr. Belding has a message for you. Now that'd be a rough one. You get an Uber courtesy of Mr. Belding.
But we're not.
But so our hostesses, Lisa Turtle, Jesse Spano, and Kelly Kapowski?
I think it's safe to say that they are.
Okay, Ty Robinson, Dylan Raiola, Polar Bear, Gifford, Nair, Tommy Hill, all guys in the club.
Nair and Tommy, I mean...
Nair's the one that I'm like, He'll
be quick. He's quick in, quick out.
I'm going to tell you right now, I would almost give him a talk. Like, listen, I'm going to let you in, but if there's any... You create any disturbance, you bother anybody, we'll take you at the club quick.
Like, Ty could have a bad game and maybe stays in the club.
And
like Nair goes...
Even Raiola's in the club.
Raiola's in. I mean, he's in.
Okay.
There's no doubt he's in. Gifford, we give a lot of leeway to. Like, he's had a lot of, like, the amount of tackles he's had, he's in the club for a bit, like.
And he's a Southeast Knight. Yeah. So there's also that. There's like a certain little handshake that we
He knows the handshake.
He does. So, is there anybody that we didn't mention that we feel like at least needed to just buy an Uber for? I need to add that line of, so we bought Ubers for
I mean, the O-line
and Butler.
Ubers. Yeah, we need to remember all this. That's good.
I never remember it. So Gourmet Grill. So we have the club, the Gourmet Grill, and Ubers.
Yeah, we're taking care of them. We're taking care of all of our guys.
See that? I mean, what's the worst? So you went out and someone, what was hard back in the day? Getting a ride home was hard.
It was. Free Uber?
It was real hard. So a free Uber home? Come on. You're fine. I feel good about it. I don't think there's anybody that were...
On offense, I mean, Dowdell, we just...
Is there any linemen? It's interesting how when we sent Ben Hart to the Gourmet Grill quick, and we're not like...
I mean, Bazooka? What do you think about Bazooka?
Bazooka?
I just have seen him run. I mean, we need to give the
I'm not ready to give Bazooka... I'm not anti those guys. I'm just, again, they're victims of, like, to me, they're all pretty similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ben Scott, Bazooka Bubblegum, Ben Hart, Justin Devins, they're all pretty similar.
Yeah, we'll learn more about the O-line as the season goes. Like, the protection's been good.
Yep.
If the protection stays like that, all of a sudden, maybe another offensive lineman creeps in the club. They're not usually like the number one guys you want in the club.
No, you got to be a special player to get put in the club as an O lineman.
Yeah, we play to the fans in a lot of these cases.
I'm glad we put Tommy. I was nervous you were going to somehow. I don't know why you would have, but Tommy's got to be in the club.
Tommy has the play of the year.
Okay,
and one of the biggest plays that I've seen in a while there. I mean,
I couldn't agree more. Like, one of the biggest. It's going to be hard to top that play for the rest. It's only the second game of the season. It's going to be hard to top that play for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, club, Gourmet Grill, Ubers.
So good.
The Gourmet Grill. Oh, God, that's
People
good.
from go to school they have gone downtown will appreciate all that much more. They know the feeling.
Do I have it on O Street? You got... People, I mean, they're right, but you got the rail, you got the Gourmet Grill, just a little further down the way, and you got Ubers. We send you to the old Sandy's like bus slot.
Yeah. Used to be Lazari's used to be there, and we would maybe send people there.
Okay, I need to catch my breath. Let me thank our sponsors here. You know what's exclusively served at the club? Brickway Cut Spike Lucky Bucket. In fact, Dylan, you can't drink this Brickway double barrel bourbon, but Ty can. So we'll give Ty earned a nice whiskey. Ty, Polar Bear, those guys are whiskey on the rocks kind of guys. But the Nick Bob Podcast is brought to you by Brickway Cut Spike and Lucky Bucket. Again, I told you I had a little bit of this whiskey. It was terrific. I am really excited. I think this weekend I'm wanting to have some of those Oktoberfest beers. Got the Lucky Bucket Oktoberfest and the Brickway Oktoberfest that I am pumped to check out. And you can as well. You can stop by. They're in the Omaha La Vista area, 4 blocks south of 120th and Giles. Make sure you go check them out. Shouts out to Brickway Cut Spike Lucky Bucket, exclusively sold in the club where a lot of Husker football players are at. And the Nick Bob Podcast is brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems. The owner, Ed McMorrow, he was watching the 98 Orange Bowl. Interview on the sideline with Peerless Price. He was like, wow, that's a cool name. They asked him what Peerless meant. Said it meant without equal. And that motto stuck in Ed's head, and that's how the company was kind of launched and built with that motto. Peerless Energy Systems born at that point. Peerless is the solar authorized distributor for Nebraska and Iowa. They go to market via local distributors and make some of the best air compressors and ancillary compressed air equipment in the industry. So if you're in food processing, transportation, refineries, manufacturing, utilities, you got a body shop, whatever, for any and all air compressor needs, go to peerlessenergy.com. That's peerlessenergy.com. And the Nick Bob Podcast is brought to you by our good folks at Pella Windows and Doors. Nothing better than when people come up to me and say, hey, man, I love the Pella commercial. Just awesome to hear because I love the people there. And they did a great job with the work they did on my home. The local team at Pella of Omaha and Lincoln, they're the best, man. Debbie and Vince and the crew helped me find the perfect fit during our in-home consultation. We visited the showroom to ensure that the selections were the perfect choice. The installation experts were on time, professional, courteous, and they left our house cleaner than they found it. Call the Omaha or Lincoln showroom or go to PellaOmaha.com to find out how you can get $100 and new windows and doors starting $122 a month. That's PellaOmaha.com. Okay. I needed to recover from that. Before we get into the Northern Iowa preview, through 2 games, because it's so interesting and it's hard to not overreact to 2 games. Through 2 games, UTEP, Colorado. I want to talk through our biggest positive takeaway and our biggest looming concern. Because it's heading into the season, we were concerned about the weapons. How explosive and dangerous are these weapons, running back, wide receiver? We were concerned about the cornerbacks a little bit. How good's Tommy Hill? He's now in the club. How good is Marquise Buford? Especially because Bly Hill was banged up, weren't sure what that was going to look like. And then concerned about turnovers. We'll start there. If you still had to say your biggest looming concern? It doesn't have to be one of those 3. Those were kind of the 3 big ones we talked about. What would be your biggest concern still looming through 2 games? Is there something that stands out to you?
I actually I woke up really early in the morning. We were out. We were down in Nebraska City on a little family getaway.
Look at you guys.
Lead Lodge, treetop adventures, apple picking, all the fun
wow.
things. Yeah. So, but we,
didn't Ned Flanders work at the cider? I think they went to the site at some point. There was a field trip with Bart and the Springfield Elementary School, and Ned Flanders was at like the cider. But so Ned had to have been there. Okay, so you woke up early,
and I just for some reason this popped in my head. I don't even know why it did, but I was just thinking about Nebraska and protecting the football. Like essentially, we're taking the ball away a couple times each game, and we haven't turned it, except for Dowdell's fumble.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't turned the ball over. Dylan has not turned the ball over. Ramir saved it a little bit, but in the end,
yeah, it's still
2 games.
There's still for Dylan. There's still 0 turnovers
from a freshman, 18-year-old quarterback. in my mind, watching this team through 2 games, that is the first and last thing I'm going to look at every game going out for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Can we protect the ball, and can we take it away, consistently? But really, can we protect the ball? More than the defensive take it away.
Completely agree.
Can we protect the ball? Can Dylan continue to just protect it, hang on to it, throw it away, throw it in the dirt, find the check down, and take your shots when you can get it? That was like a revelation to me that we can do that, and we can do it on a pretty big stage. And I woke up thinking about it, being like, that's it. That's what we got to do to win a lot of games. If we do that, we win a lot of games. We have the rest of the pieces. They're good enough to win a lot of our games. Maybe not against the best teams.
Right.
We don't have to play out of our minds against those guys. But against a lot of the teams, it's that.
I agree. I think you still have to say turnovers. It's still because it's one of those things, sometimes it's not fixed until it's fixed.
Yeah.
And it's just only 2 games in. It's hard to just be like, well, solve that issue. And listen, every team could still say turnovers, but I wrote down kicking game / special teams and turnovers. And I feel like I have to just go turnovers just because of the ramifications of it. But kicking game special teams is a concern for me still.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I talked to my brother Sunday night after his first game as a professional football coach.
They lost to the Steelers.
6 for 6 on field goals. I think they're all my brother's like, you forget how good these kickers in the NFL are.
Right.
The Steelers beat them because this guy made 45+ yard field goals, 6 out of 6.
Yes.
Right. That is what they do in the pros. Right now, when you look at Nebraska's kicking game, right, there is a feeling I have right now where it's like, is that going to cost us a game or two? Because I kind of agree with you. The biggest things to think about, that's actually creeps up there.
Because it's right now, because both games haven't been close, it's easy to just be like, because talking about kicking is never super fun and exciting, right? But these games now, you saw Illinois beat Kansas.
Yeah.
Seems like they're maybe a little better than you think. Indiana hanging 70 on people. Indiana looks like they could be a little better than you think. Purdue's actually played decent. Those games have a way of being one-possession games.
Yeah.
And that's still... I'm still going to say turnovers, but let's not gloss over that.
No, I think it's clearly turnovers. I think we don't want to underestimate, though, that this kicking game needs to get... It seems like the punt... Buschini's doing a great job.
Buschini's been good.
Punting well.
Right.
I just feel like Alvana was kind of hurt.
Yep.
But, last year he struggled a little bit, too. He hasn't proven to me that he's our guy yet.
No.
And... the kickoff game has been bad. We've had trouble kicking out of the end zone.
You've kicked it out of bounds.
Yeah.
You gave up a long return. You've had a punt blocked on a few of the returns. I don't know what happened. There was one kickoff that the ball hit the ground that I don't know if they're just
Barney, and I think it was Barney didn't communicate
it, and the ball hit the ground. That's the kind of stuff scary a little bit. Now ICG, although he's sponsored by Dockers and New Balance,
his NIL deal, it's going well for him.
I mean, it's still money in his pocket.
Yeah.
But Rule made a good point. Little thing, the first punt of the game, Rule made the point that the ball hit the ground, and instead of Garcia Castaneda completely just letting it, because it was going to roll down the field, Garcia Castaneda, on a 1 or 2 hops, gets it and gets it back up to the 50. Little stuff like that makes a difference. Although he's not rolling, he doesn't have a Harley Davidson NIL deal. He's been okay. But and then I keep hearing looming things about or reports about how the snapping for the long snappers not been has struggled in practice, and
that affects like a punt block and field goal block can be like the snap was off or slow. Sometimes
Right.
like a bad snap on a punt that's too slow. Like,
Yes.
that's why they time those things. They sit out there and like they clock it. Like, let's check our like snap to kick time. And sometimes that's a big factor. Just like we don't have that, that crisp.
Well, maybe even for Alvano, maybe he's when you're sitting there as a kicker, he comes out for that 32-yarder, and if he's thinking about the snap at all, like, because you gotta, if the snap's bad, the hold's gonna be off by just a count, and all that stuff has a domino effect. But big still concern there. But I think we got to go turnovers.
Yes.
The biggest positive takeaway, Dylan Raiola. It's like he's everything I hoped he would be. He's the biggest reason. Now you got to go the defense probably, I guess, but maybe not. I don't know. He's still the reason I think Nebraska's 2-0. He's not turned the ball over. And when your quarterback isn't a turnover machine and he is accurate, you win a lot of games.
Look back to last year's Colorado game. Our defense played a really good first half.
Played similarly well.
And our offense fumbled, and embarrassed themselves in a way that, like, when you compare it to this year, you're like, it is so different. And it's because of this guy. And, the Matt Rule and the rest of these guys have put in a lot of work.
Yes.
And have cleaned a lot of things up, right? But Dylan elevates everything. As soon as he gets his hands on the ball and his confidence and poise, it changes everybody else.
Okay. Shout out to Husk Guys on Twitter. He put this up. Through the first two games, Jeff Sims last year, he was completing 58% of his passes. He completed 20 of 34, 58%, 220 yards, 7 turnovers. Dylan Raiola, 42 of 57, 73%, 423 yards, and 0 turnovers. I mean, guys, like,
that's a simple equation to 2-0,
0-2. Seriously, like,
I mean, it's simple.
It's not. The defense played great at Minnesota and great at Colorado for the most part last year.
Yeah,
but the difference was Jeff Sims just turned it over and put the levee broke.
Threw that interception in the end zone. I mean, like, things like that. You just are like, you. If you were to go back and watch that game, it would look comical. It would look so comical compared to this year. You'd be like, is this really what we were last year?
I know that's the thing too. I think you gotta. Dylan Raiola has a way of just making everything. You don't want to take it for granted because it makes it look, everything looks screen passes. A guy's open, you hit him. Like, he's making it look easy. And the thing is, it's not like he's not capable of big boy throws and big time plays. He's made the third down throw on the opening drive against UTEP. Remember that?
Yeah.
The 2 deep balls to Nair and Banks, especially the one to Banks in the 2-minute drill against UTEP. He's had 2 2-minute drills at the end of halves for touchdowns. Yeah. He's completing 73% of his passes. So it's not like he's one of the, like, he's an Iowa quarterback from a couple years ago where it's like, well, he's taking care of the ball and he's not. No, like, this guy, yes, he is taking care of the ball, but he also is capable of making plays. So to me, the biggest positive takeaway isn't necessarily that surprising, but it's, man, Dylan Raiola has just been everything I hoped he would be and more.
Yeah, I think that I wouldn't disagree with the word you said at all. If we had to find something else, I think just from a quick 2-game, take in from the last 2 weeks, I just think we are slightly improved across the board. Like, everything looks like it's a little sharper, a little bit better. Defense looks a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
D-line, it just looks like we're deeper. The O-line's done a better job of just protecting the passer.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we ran it pretty good, but really, like, I'm more impressed that, like, we're not giving up a lot of sacks. And
there's not a lot of negative runs. There's not. It's
the special teams is the only part I'd say is, like, I don't see an improvement there, but offense and defense, like, just top to bottom, it looks like we've made, like, slightly cleaner, more polished everywhere.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing with we talked a lot about, like, the weapons. I feel a lot better about the weapons than I did heading into the year.
Oh, way better. I mean, I didn't know how good Barney was, and I definitely didn't know about Nair and Banks. Like, I underestimated that those guys were ready to go.
between the and then just having 4 not great options, but you have 4 options of runners that are like serviceable.
Well, yeah, and it keeps them hungry, and you're going to see like it's going to be a competition again on the field. That's a good sign.
Very. So, but you're right. Like you literally go position by position. They are better at every spot than they were last year.
Deeper on D-line. The secondary is seemingly playing as good as we could have hoped.
The linebackers are probably a little better. They're not a little. They're playing way better than I was maybe anticipating.
I had underestimated them
too.
A little bit, probably.
Yep.
Now the only they haven't really got the tight ends involved a ton.
Yeah, and I don't know what to make of that.
Boa Constrictor had a nice catch, but
he had a nice one, but Fedoni hasn't done much.
But receivers are out. They're outperforming what I thought. I thought they were going to have to rely on Fedoni in the tight end group. Like I thought it was going to be like that's the safety valve, and Dylan feels very comfortable throwing to anybody.
And Dowdell's better than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah,
so far. So
Dowdell's better. Ramirez looking nice. I mean, Ramirez come back from injury.
Yeah, and he's again played a lot of football. Like he's a valuable guy to have. Okay, Northern Iowa. We'll wrap this up. I will say this. The ingredients are there for a letdown. Like, don't get full of yourself. Don't drink your own Kool-Aid. I mean, you big win over Colorado. You're 2-0. You're ranked for the first time in 5 years. Things have been pretty easy so far in terms of like in-game stress. Like there's been very little in-game adversity, in-game stress. You're playing. Here comes an FCS team in Northern Iowa. Can this team handle success? Like, I always think back to, even though they weren't necessarily off to a great start, but remember the COVID year, the Penn State game? Remember, Penn State comes to town, Nebraska, they got up 27-6 in that game. They followed and beat Penn State, and they followed it up with an awful loss to Illinois at home. Illinois got up 41-17 in that game. Even last year, to an extent, they won 3 in a row. They went 5-1 in a 6-game stretch. And then they go to Michigan State, a bad Michigan State team. They had a chance to be bowl eligible, and they lose. And then they followed up with a loss to Maryland, loss to Wisconsin, loss to Iowa, and you're not bowling. So I'm a little. I don't want to say I'm worried. I think Rule will have those guys ready to roll, but I'm just saying like the ingredients are there for a classic letdown spot.
Yeah, and this is like, UTEP to me was like new coach. It was kind of like a wild card thing.
Yes.
This is the opposite. This isn't Utah spread tempo, young. I didn't get to see him, but apparently the guy was on the sideline going crazy. Like,
yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was like PJ Fleck with like 8 Red Bull vodkas. Like he was going nuts.
This is different. This is Mark Farley. He's been the head coach at Northern Iowa since 2001.
Right. Think about that.
There's not many in college football like with that sort of tenure, right? So this is a program with a lot of continuity. They run the football. It's run the football, power football, play action, take some shots. It is a different football game, and so like we're going to get a little wake up call. This is going to be a football game. It's not going to be.
It's yes.
Like the 3-3, the 3-3-5, right? Like, okay, this is this. How do we line up against this, right? So obviously this is not a Big Ten team, but same way, like you never overlook the teams that have like a lot of head coaching and coaching experience.
Agree, because this is like you were saying. You've played 2 spread teams.
Yeah.
And now you're playing a team that clearly wants to just line. They want to play smash mouth, line it up, run it at you. Football. So it's going to be a totally different game than what they played the first 2. Northern Iowa's 2-0. They have the 4th ranked rushing offense in FCS. They've just ran the ball incredibly well. Both their running backs are huge. I mean, one is 6'4", 230.
I gotta see this guy. What's the name? I want to see the
Ty Hill. I had it up, but 6'4", 230.
That's so like big.
You can say whatever you want. Like tackling a man that is 6'4", 230 is still tackling a man that is 6'4", 230.
Exactly.
He's averaging 10 yards per carry. He's got
Ty Edwards.
That's what it's Ty Edwards, and it's
a big boy. It's a different ball game. I mean, it's if you're not used to playing against big backs, as a game goes on, they get so much harder to tackle. Like if they start like wearing you down, like you almost got to stop the big guys before they get rolling. Like stop them at the line of scrimmage, make them,
right.
Like nip the running game in the butt. So they have to turn to the pass as the game goes on versus like, you think about Derrick Henry by like the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
that
oh
guy
my God.
sucks to tackle.
Because both their running backs have 30 carries, but obviously the big boy's the featured one, but he's averaging 10 yards a carry right now.
Bad.
So just a different kind of game. The one thing I think there was enough. We talked about the whole glossing over the second half. I think that's going to help Rule keep these guys sharp. Is like there was enough bad things. Now a lot of them were on offense and penalties and stuff like that to keep them sharp.
Yeah. I wish I had Matt Rule's quote. I just was reading it in the paper an hour ago before I came over here. But basically, he hinted at something like that. He goes, basically say, this is how I am. Like, everybody's super pumped about, like, to me, it's like, I think we just won a game or want to know on to the next. Like,
right.
He's very much like that.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's, we kind of, the rest of us are all celebrating, but like Matt Rule's really not. And it's a good thing. I was like, oh, I love this. Matt Rule sort of like bringing everybody back down to earth when it was like, when I think people were like throwing him softballs about how great we are and how awesome this is. He was the one kind of like bringing it back to like, that's not where I'm at.
Yeah. I was interested when the game was wrapping up against Colorado. I was like, I'm curious what Rule's going to be like after the game in the press conference, and then how he's just going to act this week. Is there going to be a lot of like puffing his chest out kind of stuff, or is it going to be more like he was excited, but it clearly was like, no, I mean, we still we're process oriented here. Like
he has less trauma in his body. Like we're traumatized fans. We are all desperate for wins. We're desperate for anything we can get. Matt Rule has built up a few different programs. He's not thinking like Nebraska fans are thinking, which is a good thing, Nick.
Right. He can't celebrate and go crazy.
We're all a little out of our mind, and we're probably like our own psychology is maybe bad for us. Like if you were playing or coaching, like if a Nebraska fan was the head coach, it's probably bad for us because we'd be like, we'd be like, you'd
ride the roller coaster too much.
You'd be making too many decisions based off of what's happened in the past, not like this is what we do.
Yeah, because I agree. He even the whole thing about being ranked, he was like, yeah. I mean, he was like, we got bigger aspirations than just getting ranked.
That's
which
right,
is a great answer.
Nick,
like, okay, you're ranked. Like, it's exciting, but it's like
he hasn't had to deal with 20 years of this though.
Right.
Like we've been 20 years of like what
it is crazy to think they haven't been ranked in 5 years. Like that's just wild to say out loud. But even Tony White, this is his quote at the press conference today. He goes, "It's Tuesday, so we're the worst defense in the country."
Good.
Like that I think those guys have the right mindset. But I'm just saying you can have the right. They can have the right mindset. Can the guys go out there and have the right mindset of just like it's
the
just
guys have had to deal with growing up as a Husker, or they've been in the program for 4 years going, what is going on here, right? So the coaches have the needed different perspective, which like I say it's a good thing. I saw it and it was like reminds me like, yeah, like as a fan, we got terrible perspective because we've just been brutalized for 20 years,
I wrote down 3 things I want to see. And I could turn this into a game ball segment. And there's obviously a million things you want to see. But the first thing I wrote down was special teams have a good day. I want to see Alvano make a field goal, cover kicks well, all those things. Special teams have a good day. Second thing, we'll discuss the more turnover-free football. Continue to set that tone of playing clean in the turnover department. And then the third day, I don't know, maybe the third thing, I wrote down another good day from the Dowdell-Ramir combo. Like, I kind of want those two guys to take complete hold of that position. I don't like uncertainty there. Like, it's not to say I wouldn't want to see Emmett Johnson and Gabe Ervin to go play well, but like what I don't want is like you're now getting into Big Ten play and you don't quite know what the pecking order is there. Because you see the oars got removed on the depth. Like it is Dowdell and Ramir, and there's no oar then after those guys.
Kind of what we talked about in our last pod was like who you going with, and we kind of said it's going to be those two because you got to have Ramir on third down, which I think's right. But it tells you that Dowdell has made the jump.
Yes. So to me, I just want clarity at that position. And so I think they're kind of like 1 or 2 games away from completely being like, it's Dowdell and Ramir.
Yeah.
Those are the guys.
The only caveat I'd put to you said turnover, like the turnover thing,
which those are like
true.
Obvious, like real insightful, Nick. But
no, but I would say for me, even over the running back thing, I would probably put the offensive execution wasn't great in the second half, right? So I think offensive execution would be my number one focus besides the turnovers. What am I looking for? Was that a fluke or have we worked all that? You know what I mean? Like, I want to see how we execute because we kind of got in a funk. We were having trouble finding the plays we wanted to get.
There was even a few broken plays. Guy went the wrong way. A
little bit of that is like, okay, this is kind of like our 4-minute or 8-minute offense. But I think we were trying to burn down this game, and it just felt like we got out of sync doing that. But I just didn't know if that's hey, we got a lead and we don't know what this is like, right?
Yes.
So I want to see refresh, new game. Are we back into the flow of our, the first 6 quarters of football we saw this year? So for me, I want to see, is the offense back on track? That and turnovers are my 2 big. Because I think the defense, I feel pretty confident in this defense.
So do I. Okay, the one thing, if you're trying to paint a positive picture for what this game will look like, I think Nebraska will win 30, 35-7, 38-7, something like that. Like, I just have a hard time seeing them getting in the end zone more than once so far of what we've seen. But like the strength of this team is their defensive front. Yep. And if Northern Iowas think they're just going to come and bowl over,
tie in polar bear,
and it's like good luck. Yeah, I just don't think that's going to happen. But I'm with you. I want to see you. Let's hope that when we're talking for the game recap pod, we're talking about like, man, it was a crisp, clean, productive day offensively. Yeah. Where the guys were moving the ball and doing their thing. But so similar score, 30.
I'm excited to give out 2 game balls.
So we're limiting to 2 game balls. Let me, as we wrap this up, when are we going to revisit the club? You want to revisit the club?
Maybe next midweek.
Are we going to do a weekly club check?
Maybe we do to start the year out. We got to see where we're at.
We'll see, because things can change quite a bit.
Yeah,
there's a world where Nayer's at the club. There's a world. Maybe Banks is in the club.
Banks in, Nayer's out.
Okay, all this gourmet grill talk has got me kind of hungry.
I want to get.
Let's go to the gourmet grill.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.